Now with recording. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters.
Good morning.
It was a pleasure to see some people here bright and early. AM Lockport worth getting up for. I'd like to start the meeting with a pledge to the flag, and then we'll do an inspiration. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. And to inspire us today, we have our Toastmaster, Jill Roaring. She's going to give us a few words.
Yes, hopefully a few words. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I see we have at least one guest. Lauren McMillan, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
What brings you to AM Lockport?
Actually, Mark Campos is my uncle.
Oh,
And,
okay.
recently, I've been having to go on television and speak, and I need a little assistance.
Well, I think we can help you out with that. So welcome. In these wonderful mornings and days of change that we are experiencing now, not just seasonally, but it is the change of seasons. Let us all have hope and strive for today to always be a better day than yesterday. Thank you. Good Toastmasters.
So for Lauren, the Toastmaster that runs the meeting is actually called the Toastmaster. So the Toastmaster of the day is Tracy Farrell. Welcome her up, please.
Loud noise, huh? Thanks. So today's theme is finding what you weren't looking for. And one of the things that happened last night as I was packing my bag, I'm going away next week for a couple of days, and I'm using my old bag that I use like every weekend to go someplace. So I had to clean it up. And as I'm looking in the pocket, I found this bracelet that I have been missing for a year. And I love it because one of my best friends gave it to me, and it means so much to me, and it kind of matches with everything. So I wasn't really looking for it, but I found it. So we're going to talk a lot about things that we weren't really looking for, but found. We have quite a bit of housekeeping to do today. Right now, I don't have an evaluator for Gerald Stevens. Did anybody want to step into that role? And if not, I'm going to call on Mark Campos to be his evaluator number 2. Is that okay, Mark?
That's fine. Someone will have to assume my role as grammarian. And Dr. Stevens, I'm assuming your project is on the website. I can find it there.
Yes.
All right. I got it.
So we have our master, Marty. Would you be able to assume the role as grammarian and master? Perfect. In fact, we'll start off with you, and you can explain your role as master and grammarian.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster Tracy, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guest. As master, I'll be testing my listening skills and carefully listening for any ahs, ums, pregnant pauses, and so on that we use throughout the meeting, mainly filler words, and I'll be reporting back at the end of the meeting. And as grammarian, I'll be reporting on exceptional and poor uses of grammar, and I'll also be reporting back at the end of the meeting on those. Okay, thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thank you, Marty, for stepping up. And we also have a quote master. Steve, can you give us a quote for the day?
Don't believe anything you hear.
and about half of what you see. That was said by Edgar Allan Poe. If history repeats itself, and the unexpected always happens, how incapable must man be of learning from experience? George Bernard Shaw. And finally, this too shall pass. Unknown. I bet you thought your mother wrote that, don't you?
And our jester, Nancy Rose, who's online. Nancy, can you give us a jest? Or no, she's not online. Okay, we are gonna, does anybody have a jest? Oh, is she? Nancy? Are you sure? Yes.
Still on mute, Nancy.
Good morning now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, apologize about that. It's funny because I'm the gesture, and this is funny. For some reason, I thought that you were talking about Wizard of Oz. So my jokes are kind of from the Wizard of Oz, just to give you a heads up. I was wondering who you all think the favorite character is. If you all agree, it's the Scarecrow, and why? Because no one could hold a candle to them. And here's another no-brainer, since I'm such a no-brainer right now. Dorothy was the best actress. Is that correct? Does everyone agree? Anyone? Because she brought the house down. But the joke's on me now, because for some reason I read that and now I'm like, okay, I gotta roll with it. But back to you, Mrs. Toastman.
Thank you, Nancy. And we will talk about the Wizard of Oz. I know I have a very vague theme, and it was just thoughts rolling in my head, and I'm mashing them together. Next on our list is timer. Leonard, can you give us the time? Do you also have a list of who's online? Or they can say it and I will announce the people that are in the room, if you want to do it that way.
I'll flash it up here in a second. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. My role as timer today is to make sure everybody stays within the required parameters for their speaking opportunity via table topics, evaluators, or speeches. And if you're in the room here, you'll see it indicated by the timing light. If you're online, I'll try and change the background of the room cam to green, amber, and red correspondingly. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thank you, Leonard. After that, we don't have a tech and jester master. Does anybody want to jump in for that? If not, we can just forego that role. And also as quiz master, I'm going to announce for table topics, just so Mike Florio has an idea, the people that are in the room. Word master, I am so sorry. David Jones, you are the word master. Can you give us the word for the day?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. The word of the day is astray. It is an adverb. It means away from the correct path or into morally questionable behavior. Used in a sentence, one that many of us can refer to is the money had gone astray. So try to use the word astray in all your speeches and roles, especially in table topics. Madam Toastmaster.
Perfect. Thank you, David. So for our table topics master, the people in the room are Jackie Kenny, Jill Roaring, Stephen Smith, Sylvia Baptiste, Marty Johnston, Nancy Ferry, Gerald Stevens, Mike Licata, Dave Licata, Margot, and we have a guest also. And you can see the people are online. I'm going to talk a little bit about things that happened in the past. So September 15th, 1928, Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin, and that's where the theme started from. He was somewhat of an odd fellow. He was born into a poor family, peasant family. but he got a scholarship into the Naval Academy. He eventually was a doctor in World War I. And while he was there, he saw a lot of wounds, and they were treating these wounds with antiseptics. And he noticed, wow, everybody's dying. So he, after the war, he realized he was studying, and he had some strep cultures in his petri dish. He was a disheveled, unorganized guy, so he went away for a week, came back to his office or his laboratory, and noticed there's that culture, and there's mold growing in it. Hence, he discovered, and he realized that strep antibacteria was dying. So he, at that point, discovered penicillin. He wrote a book after that. Nobody gave him any credit for it because he couldn't get enough of this penicillin to actually be used in the real world. It was 20 to 30 years later that he actually won the Nobel Peace Prize. But right in front of him, in the least expected place where he wasn't looking for it, he discovered penicillin. So when our thoughts run astray, the answer could be right in front of us. I'm going to lead us now into table topics, and Mike Florio, can you take the stand? Mike.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guest, Lauren, welcome. I'm going to start with one of the masters here, Phil Russell. Are you there, Phil? Phil's not there. I thought I saw Phil Russell earlier.
I'd be here.
Hey, Phil, how are you?
I'm okay.
I knew I could count on you to go first. So we're all trying to find what we're looking for a lot of times. And I'm a fan of the internet and YouTube to find what I'm looking for and maybe stumble on it. How do you go about, Encyclopedia Britannica is no longer. So how do you go about researching and finding what you're looking for? And remember to use the word astray.
Well, Mr. Topics Master, I'm looking out the window here, and right here is a window, and I see a stray dog. It's a stray dog right now. Now, when I'm looking for something, I'll tell you something. If I can't find it, I'll make it up. Because that's the best thing to do. I have a friend, Marty Kasperzak. He was an engineer at Carborundum, and he's been all over, and he's a research engineer. Now he makes violins, pretty cool guy. And he was at Corning. Now we know we have all this magical utensils in the kitchen, especially the ones that are made out of some kind of, it seems like glass and stuff. Well, Marty told me, he said he was down there talking to the engineer who invented it. Hyrex, I think it is. And he said, well, how did you do that? He says, quite honestly, I forgot to turn the oven on, and it was there, and something was in there, and that's how I invented it. So things that you may be looking for, you find something different. That's why I make it up. You see, I've been working with another friend of mine, and he told me that he puts his pants on 2 legs at a time. I've been working on that. I've been working on it. It helps you out. It really does. Now I've graduated from just shorts, and I'm working on long-legged pants now. Now I have to tell you this, people. Don't go astray. Try it. 2 legs at a time. How many times have they who heard that person say to you, look at, they put their pants on 1 leg at a time, just like you? No longer that's going to occur. 2 legs at a time. These things are important things you have to do. It's like they had a stray dog down there. I just saw somebody just come along and it's no longer a stray. They picked it up, took it in the car and went away with it. So, Mr. Topics Master, there's things that happen all the time that you're not quite ready for. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Phil, thank you very much. And wow, talk about a stray. I knew I could count on you, Phil. Let's see. Jennifer Zapla. Jennifer, you out there?
I'm here, yes.
I kind of, like Nancy, took off on the whole Wizard of Oz thing, right? And I thought, you know, everybody kind of identifies with somebody at one point in their life in the Wizard of Oz, whether, you know, it's the lion and the courage and the Tin Man and his heart and the scarecrow and, you know, lack of a brain. And maybe even Dorothy finding where she's going. So I guess on the movie Wizard of Oz, kind of who do you identify with and what did you like about the movie, I guess, even?
Well, Mike, I can't say that this has ever occurred to me that I would identify with a character in The Wizard of Oz, but if I had to pick one right now, I think it would be the wizard, because everybody always seems to think like the wizard's got it all together and he's literally just like hiding behind the curtain, hoping nobody ever figures out that he's just pulling levers. So I would say that I most identify with the wizard. There have been plenty of times in my life where I feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants and I just hope no one knows how unprepared I am. And then afterward, people will say, wow, that was so great. You did such a good job. Or like, you must have really worked hard on that. And I'm like, oh yeah, the 5 minutes before this meeting, I really put that one together, guys. So yes, it's definitely the wizard behind the curtain, hiding, hoping that the smoke and mirrors are alluding to or hiding the fact that I have not gone astray quite yet, that I am here and showing up every day. But that's what I have for you today. Thank you.
That's really good. Thank you. So now, Lauren McMillan, and, you know, I think you saw this coming because, you know, your uncle knows that, you know, you might get picked. Anyway, I think you've seen now a couple of people that have done Table Topics and how it works. And if you would like to, it's totally up to you whether or not you'd like to participate. But if you'd like to, let me know.
Sure, I'll give it a go.
Okay.
I think that I maybe understand and maybe I don't. I think you have to speak for 1 minute and 30 seconds, which seems like a long time.
Yeah, it goes by quickly. Don't worry about it. And then I'll ask you a kind of a question, and be sure to use the word of the day. And you don't have to answer that question specifically. You can switch to anything you like to talk about. It's your 2 minutes, really. So on the theme of Wizard of Oz, we've already talked about it quite a bit. And for me, Wizard of Oz was one of the first scary movies, I think. You know, there's scary parts in the Wizard of Oz, no doubt about it. And to me, it was one of the first scary movies I think I ever watched. Do you think Wizard of Oz is a scary movie? And if not, what's your favorite scary movie that you like? And remember to use the word astray.
Well, let's say we're astray right away because The Wizard of Oz hasn't been watched by me in 35 years and I'm 38. So I think I was about 3 when I saw The Wizard of Oz for the one and only time. So I don't recall very much about it. Favorite scary movie? I don't love scary movies. I think that life is scary enough in general, and I don't need any movies putting things in my head to lead me further astray than I already am. And I'm definitely not getting to 2 minutes.
Well, what's your favorite comedy then?
Oh, goodness, favorite comedy. Oh, gosh. I like very light, like rom-coms, I suppose you could say. If I had to pick one, oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to pick one.
Yeah. All right, well.
More of
which
a
one?
Friends, less movies, more of a sitcom type of show, I think.
All right, well, that's good. Those are all some of my favorites. Friends is pretty good too. That's going back a few days.
Yes, for sure.
All right, well, thank you. And I'll hand it back over to our Toastmaster of the day, Tracy.
Thank you.
There you are.
Sorry, I should have been more prepared. I'm going to track back a little bit. I'm gonna have Marty Johnson come up because he has a guest that just walked in, so I'd like him to introduce his guest to us. Marty.
And I think we'll need the timer too, Tracy.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. We have a return guest. His name's Mark Crane, and I believe he's going to be joining at some point in time. And I believe he has a word he'd like to say for the club. Mark, good morning.
Thank you, Marty. I didn't mean to go astray with your meeting today, but I very glad to be here. When you say AM Toastmaster, this is AM. Wow. But this is really nice. I really like the turnout we had last time that I participated, and I got a ribbon. That was kind of nice. It was table topics, which was nice. I did prepare something today. If I was called upon or whatever, I always bring something with me when I go somewhere. And it's one of the worst kind of speeches you could ever have to give is a eulogy. And I know Marty's had some experience with this recently because he went up and spoke at his mother's funeral recently. But if we can't get to that, that's fine. I've got something, like I said, I always carry something or one or two things prepared. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mark. I would have called on you for an icebreaker today if I'd known. So I'm gonna go back to our word master. David, can you tell us who used the word in table topics?
Yes, Madam Toastmaster. Lauren used it twice, Jennifer used it once, and Phil Russell with his own Philisms used it 4 times.
Thank you. And our timer, Mr. Timer, can you tell us the times for table topics?
Well, it was a bit of a struggle for 2 of our contestants. Phil had no problem. In fact, he was borderline talking too long. I had him at 2:15. Jen, you were at a loss for words today, but you snuck in at 1:30, as did Lauren at 1:30 with a little help from the topic master, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. So that means all 3 of our participants qualify. If you could take your time and vote for either Lauren, Jen, or Phil. And I believe Sylvia will be picking up your ballots here. And Len will put out the survey online. So as promised, we're going to talk about The Wizard of Oz, written by Frank Baum. There's so many levels. And when I was in high school, if I would have, or even younger, I would have thought more about this movie or the book. But at the time, it was just a dusty old book and a movie that was from the 1950s, and I didn't care. Now I look back at it, and there's so many themes to it. You could look at it at a religious point, political and economical, friendships, so much. So of course, being me, I had to look at it as a social, economical, political, economical thing. And the scarecrow kind of represents the farmers in the Midwest. The Tin Man is represents the Industrial Revolution. The lion is one of those candidates that Frank Baum didn't really like. And the wizard, of course, is a man hiding behind a curtain, pulling a lot of strings, who he, at the time, represented all of the previous presidential candidates that he didn't like. And according to legend, he didn't like any of them. So he was pulling all of their strings. But when Dorothy opened that curtain, she found a man, a con man from Nebraska, and she ended up liking him. And in the end of the story, what really got her home to her home was those silver slippers that she had all along. Ruby red.
Ruby.
It was actually in the movie. It was ruby red. They were silver beforehand, representing the silver that was backing up the gold standard of our paper money. Everything's all right in front of us, but we don't see it. So now I am going to go on to our speakers. Our first speaker today is Margot, who will be evaluated by Jackie Kenny. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I'm looking forward to Margot's project this morning, Presentation Mastery Path. She's going to give us a 5 to 7 minute speech, but her project is 10 to 15 minutes because she has some interesting things to handle. And I think we're probably going to have a few laughs and a few importune moments. I have her title, but I think probably the Toastmaster of the day has it as well. I do.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. Let's welcome Margot Bittner. How to do public speaking. And Margot, how to do public speaking. Thank you, Margot.
Morning, everything okay? I don't know. Here. Thanks, so I can help everybody here learn how to do public. Oh, maybe I should move this. Should I move this back? All right, so I moved the podium back. So we're all set now for everybody to learn about public speaking. That's what you're all here for, right? Okay. So let me tell you, the first thing we need to do is to get ourselves up and organized. And let me grab, I've got some notes here. Let me go through. No, this isn't the embroidery, right? No, so I don't need this. Oh, here's my scarf. Oh, found my notes. I'm all set. I'm sorry, what? Oh, can you guys online hear me? Oh, I guess I can use the mic. I guess you people want me to use the mic, so you guys online? Sorry about that, folks in Zoom land. I forgot about that completely. Anyway, so let me start my speech. One afternoon at 5 o'clock, the phone rang. Oh, wait a minute, wrong speech, sorry. Hang on, it's in here somewhere. Hang on. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, did you, something? Hey, listen, if you guys can do me a favor, can you maybe take some notes? Because some of these people might have questions because I'm an expert in public speaking. So if you can write down their questions for me, that'd be really good. You don't have any paper? Well, you can use the back of your little for me there from Tracy. That'd be great. Oh, found my notes. Yeah. Oh, that might be a really good idea, Nancy. That's a great idea, Nancy. Okay, I think I just found my notes. See, what I decided to do was use a couple of index cards, because when you write your notes on index cards,
it helps you. So anyway, so I first started joining Toast. Oh, wait a minute. They're not in right order. Hang on. Hang on. You know what? I probably should have numbered these when I started, shouldn't I have? That probably would have helped me to have them yeah, yeah. So have you done any public speaking? Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. So when we get to the discussion part, you'll be able to help me, right? Good, good, good. Good, good. Anyway. So let me ask you this. Have I done anything right yet? Okay, but my question was, did I do anything right? Not yet. Okay, so what did I do wrong, Dave? Okay. Okay, that was good. Okay. What else did I do wrong? Being unorganized. How fast did I go? I went back to my roots of 1998, didn't I? I sort of went a little slow. Zoomland folks, I didn't use the mic to help you guys out. So there's nothing you can think of that I did correctly.
You showed up.
I showed up. I showed up. When Tracy introduced me the second time, what happened? Everybody in this room turned around and stared at me like, what the heck is she doing? I got your attention. And if there's anything you need to do when you do public speaking, it's grab everybody's attention. We always talk about a speech being 3 parts, the beginning, the middle, and the end. The 2 parts people remember best are the opening and the conclusion. And when I did not respond to Tracy and was on my phone or whatever else I was doing, I was back there and everybody in this room turned around. Now, Lauren, Mark, you may not know, but I do have my DTM. I've been doing this a very long time. And this is actually a presentation I have done for business groups. I've done it for other groups. And the people who don't know me think, what the heck is going on? I've done it as a speech that would take usually about an hour. And by the end, when we talk about what's going on in public speaking, people have an idea what to do. So as I finish my second path, presentation mastery, if you have questions about public speaking, you want some help, I'm here because in reality, I am actually a master and I've got my DTM. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I'll get my stuff out of your way. Thank you, Margot. That was awesome. She's losing things. Thank you, Mike. So our second speaker today is Dr. Gerald Stevens, being evaluated by Mark Campos. Mark, can you give us an idea of what Gerald will be speaking about?
I can. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Good morning. Dr. Stevens is working out of the Persuasive Influence Pathway, Level 1. This is an icebreaker. His purpose is for the member to introduce himself to the club and learn the basic structure of a public speech. Since this is not his first icebreaker, he does not get a pass on time. So, Mr. Timer, I believe his time should be 4 to 6 minutes. Am I correct?
Yes.
And Madam Toastmaster, do you have his title?
I do. Thank you, Mark.
Madam Toastmaster.
So today we'll be hearing from Gerald Stevens, The Story of My Life. Giving his icebreaker, Gerald Stevens.
I think there's a song that goes like that, Story of My Life. Morning, fellow Toastmasters and our guests, Lauren and Mark. I've done many icebreakers. Like Margot, I am a distinguished Toastmaster. And once you do a few of them, it's like, But some people in the crowd know me, some don't. So I don't want to bore the hell out of the people in the crowd. So I have to figure a way to change it up. So I decided to break up the story of my life into chapters and put a little more detail into them instead of going through the anthology of time. The early years. I don't know how many of you remember your very first memory. I actually do. It was in kindergarten, the very first day of kindergarten. My wife remembers things when she was 2. That's amazing. I remember my first day of kindergarten. Maybe it was traumatizing. I'm not sure. It's very possible. And I met 2 of my lifelong friends there, Billy and Anthony. I walked to school. Yes, I did walk to school to my grandkids. It was a very long way and there was lots of snow and it was the worst thing ever. But in reality, it was 2 blocks. But you have to play it up. Tall tale, right? Toastmasters tell those things. So I enjoyed school for sure, but I was an introvert when I was very young. Some of you may be surprised by that. I used to read a lot of sci-fi, fantasy kind of things. We didn't do a lot as I was a kid because we didn't have a lot of money. And I had 4 sisters, so we had a large family. I was the middle child. Some people may think that explains a few things. I'll leave that out there. Middle child syndrome. But we had fun. Most of the time I remember as a child, when I was not reading, I was forced outside. I was literally grounded outside one time by my dad, probably for fighting with my sisters. And that's when I started playing sports. So I got into all different sports, summer baseball, Town of Niagara Recreational League. They gave us a free t-shirt every year if you participated. So I had multiple t-shirts for multiple colors and wore those all the time. Did that, played intramural hockey for sure, neighborhood hockey down the street with the boys all the time, playing all different sports. I remember body checking people into snowbanks. Those good old times back in the day when we had more snow, believe it or not. We always went over to Canada as a child. I have relatives over there, so we'd visit my mother's siblings and grandma, of course. But as soon as we got there, they got rid of us because there was 5 of us. So we made a lot of noise. So they would send us to Aunt Kate's, who wasn't really our aunt. And Aunt Kate had this giant drawer of candy. So we, of course, ran out the door because we wanted to get candy, right? She wouldn't let us get candy until we sat there for a while and talked to her. So she was smart. And then she got us sugared up and she sent us out the door back to Grandma's house. Or they would give us pop bottles and then we would cash those in and go to the 5 and dime. And that started my hockey card collection. So every week I'd go get more hockey cards, Guy Lafleur, Jill Perreault, all the famous hockey players of the time. So it was a good time for sure. So what else did I do as a child? I did participate in Boy Scouts. I've talked about that a few times in different meetings, helped with goal setting and leadership development for sure, but definitely some good times as well. I remember doing some wilderness survival stuff and learning I actually could start a fire with rubbing 2 sticks together, which sounds insane probably for the average person. So useful if I was in a disaster scenario, but otherwise not really. We had a lot of fun in camp. So we would go all over the place. We got our own bus. I sold so many things. Oh my gosh, just raise money. Jelly beans, donuts, Tom Watts kits, everything under the sun, candy bars. Raised money for all these trips, DC, Boston, travel bug bites here. So that's where I got that. And we had other fun there as well. We played capture the flag and we had competitions. Capture the flag was fun. We'd have different colored armbands and everybody would try to steal the flag and bring it back to your home camp. I remember this kid named Bill Waney. I don't know how he got the enemy's colors, but he did. And he snuck in and he stuffed the flag down his pants. And I don't know how he ran, but he ran all the way back and he got back to the home base and he said, "What are you doing?" He's reaching down his pants and he pulled the flag. What is going on? But it was so much fun. This other kid, Ken Hewitt, for some reason this summer, he decided to moon everybody all the time. So at the least expected times, you turn around and there was the full moon. So he did this the entire week. So the scoutmaster at the end called him out and said, "You do that one more time, I'm gonna put a permanent marker across your butt, a big X." And he's like, "Yeah, whatever." So an hour later, he moons the Scoutmaster. Sure enough, it felt like a spontaneous thing. Everybody in the entire camp ran over, tackled this guy, and he got a black marker across his butt. He didn't believe it was going to happen. Good times as a child. In my next chapter of my life, I will talk about the college years. So I'm going to make this a multi-part series. And I look forward to doing this so I can share more of these stories that I may not have told before. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. I'm so engrossed in your story, I'm not paying attention to anything else. So our third speaker today is Michael Takata, being evaluated by Nancy Ferry. Nancy, can you tell us what he'll be talking about?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Mike today is working from Pathways, Engaging Humor, Level 1, and it is from the researching and presenting part. He has asked me to help him not go astray by listening for restarts. So with that, I will give it back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Nancy. So Mike will be talking to us. The title of his speech is A Show About Nothing. Or was it? It's 5 to 7 minutes. A show about nothing? Or was it?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and our guests this morning. Today, I want to talk about Seinfeld. I am one of those people that is enamored with that show, even though it lasted only nine seasons, but it finished over 20 years ago. And I've always been fascinated by how it changed television, how it changed the sitcom, and you've followed some of the creators of that show through a second life. And Seinfeld started because Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld became fast friends at the stand-up comedy circuit throughout New York City. And they pitched the idea to NBC, and NBC launched it in 1988. And what a lot of people don't know is that the original show's title was called The Seinfeld Chronicles. And the second part, actually, the Elaine Bennis character wasn't introduced until after the pilot, because a lot of people at Castle Rock and the production company went to Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld and said, "You have to make the female character stronger." So Larry David decided to base a character on an ex-girlfriend and used that as the basis for the template for the Elaine character, along with introducing the George character and the Kramer character, and they were all based on more people that Larry David knew versus what Jerry Seinfeld could do. And the impressive thing about Seinfeld is and the reason I love the show so much is it's infinitely watchable, which you don't see a lot. And Larry David did a great job of mining his life experiences and turning that into tremendous television. Now, some of the best written work is nonfiction, and a lot of people think that the improbability of a lot of the stories from Seinfeld couldn't happen, when in actuality, the way that the show worked is Larry, when he ran it, mined a lot of the writers' own experiences. That's one of the reasons why when you were a writer on Seinfeld, you didn't work for the show very long. They had to come up with 22 episodes every week. So you would put in maybe your 8 to 10 to 12 major storylines and go from there in terms of producing the story. So the writers were the backbone of the show, and Larry David did a lot of work in protecting the show, keeping in what he thought was funny and keeping out a lot of the network influence. Because the way, and in that process, in his writing process and the way that he ran the show was genius, because it's a unicorn. The show's not going to come like that along that's going to be anywhere close to Seinfeld. And a lot of it was the cast, a lot of it was the writing, but his ability to just make situations funny and rewrite how a sitcom gets done in 30 minutes is truly impressive. And he's not there. You can't recreate the magic that show had. The way he always wrote an episode was you'd have an A storyline, you'd start the B storyline in the first part, and then that's how a normal sitcom progresses, and then you would wrap everything up at the end. But with Seinfeld, Larry didn't care as long as it was funny, and Jerry as well. He would do an A storyline, he would start the B storyline, and then maybe he would add that third storyline that would never really be resolved at the end of the episode. And Larry didn't care as long as it was funny. So if an episode was left unresolved, it was left unresolved, and we as fans could never really find out what happened, because as long as the jokes last, it wasn't as important as making sure you get that last laugh out of everybody. Every year, Jerry would sit down with Michael Richards and Jason Alexander and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and the four of them would make sure that they would want to do another season. And when the 9th season came about, they sat down and they figured out that it was always going to be their last season. 9 was actually a very sacred number to Jerry Seinfeld. So they decided to end the show after that 9th season. And I know the finale is divisive. There's a lot of opinions on it, but I've always been of the opinion that with a show that has that much reverence and that many people watching all the time, you're never going to make everyone happy. So I think they did an okay job. I know it's not among the best, but I do think that he doesn't give enough credit for changing how comedy works. And I also have to give those 5 people a lot of credit, because a lot of what they did with the continuation that HBO paid Larry all that money to do Curb, and they did a reunion episode. I think the only way they could do it was over a season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is a continuation of the George character that was based on Larry. And their reunion episode, and it's always fascinating to go back and watch that season of Curb, because if you talk to the main cast members, they actually gave up a lot of money not to do a reunion episode on HBO that was the show within a show. But they decided to do it anyway. I really enjoyed the show. It changed comedy, but it is a golden unicorn. I don't think it'll be something we'll see again, but with it being on Netflix, and there will always be an audience for it, I hope everyone gets a chance to watch it, because it is truly one of those rewatchable, wonderful experiences. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mike. So I didn't run astray. I did remember our general evaluator. Eric, can you tell us your job for the day?
Thank you very much, ma'am Toastmaster. I was wondering when I would be called on, but thank you. As your general evaluator, I'll be evaluating the Toastmaster and our evaluators. And Tracy, if you want to call for reports, that's which way you want to do it, fine with me. Back to you.
Thank you, Eric. Before that, I'm going to bring up our evaluators that Eric will, oh, I'm sorry, our timer. Do not forget our timer. Mr. Glenn.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I'm pleased to report that nary a speaker went astray of the time parameters today. All qualifying: Margot with 5:44, Gerald at 5:54, and Mike at 7:22. The online poll will go up momentarily. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. I've been caught astray several times during this meeting, but I will start off with our evaluators. Our first evaluator is Jackie, evaluating Margot. Jackie. Toastmaster. Chaos. The form starts out asking me to tell this person what they excelled at. And I thought Margot excelled at creating chaos. That huge bag of stuff that went everywhere. And we've all seen people do things like that. Maybe not with the huge bag, but with notes that they have discombobulated all over the desk or the lectern, which is not a podium. She did that on purpose. She knew it would irritate me. She got our attention by overwhelming us with that chaos that she created. Nobody looked away. We all were focused on Margot and what she was presenting. And that's the whole point of being the speaker. I found it very distracting, however, that you didn't adjust the camera. And I'm not quite sure how you would do that, but there must be a way to adjust the camera so that more of you would have shown up when you were in front of the lectern. That's just an issue for the people who are online watching this. They're not getting as much of the presentation as the rest of us. I also would have liked to have seen one of the things that is called for in this project. You had 10 or 15 minutes to deliver a 5 to 7 minute speech and deal with difficult audience members. And I know you would have done a good job dealing with someone very cantankerous out there, trying to lead you astray and take the spotlight off you. I would have liked a little bit more of that. But you brought so much into this project. It was really fun to watch all the ways that we shouldn't act when we're up here in front of everyone. All the things that Lauren is going to learn as a new Toastmaster, and I look forward to seeing her growth. Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. Our second speaker was Dr. Gerald Stevens, being evaluated by Mark Campos. Mark, can you tell us about Gerald's speech?
I certainly can. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Good morning once again. I think of Dr. Stevens as the Indiana Jones of AM Lockport Toastmasters. He has enthralled us with tales of his globe-trotting adventures all over the planet. And I, for one, enjoyed this speech a great deal today because typically his speeches make me feel very inadequate about my own life, which has clearly been very boring in comparison to his. So the speech that focused on things that I could relate to, normal childhood things, it was right in my wheelhouse, Dr. Stevens, so great job. Clearly, he is an accomplished speaker, and let's talk about his strengths as a speaker. The entire speech was delivered in front of the lectern. Great job. Our new Toastmasters will see that evolution where in the beginning we tend to hide behind the lectern and we grip it very tightly. And over time we loosen that grip and then we feel more comfortable coming out in front and exposing more of ourselves. The entire speech delivered without a note, without an index card. Great job in that regard. Good job with gestures as well. Above all, I thought Gerald Stevens has what I like to think of as a great conversational presentation style. It's clearly a prepared speech, but it doesn't come across that way. It comes across as if he's just telling a story to his buddy over a beer at the bar. Now, building upon these strengths, I think his speech could have been even more effective in just a couple of ways. The first one is that your eye contact was great with the audience. However, you forgot about us here in Zoom land. You never really made any eye contact with us. And that's one of the challenges in a hybrid meeting, to occasionally make eye contact with that camera to engage your remote audience with you a little bit more. The second thing, I think your speech could have benefited if you utilized a lavalier mic as opposed to the handheld mic, because your gestures were limited. The mic's in your right hand, you're doing all your gestures with your left hand. With the lavalier mic, your hands are free to be a little bit more expressive. But in summary, I enjoyed your speech. Icebreakers are always fun. We learn more about each other, and you certainly did not go astray this morning, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. Our third speaker today was Mike Licata, being evaluated by Nancy Ferry. Nancy, can you tell us about Mike's speech?
Well, Toastmasters and guests, privileged to evaluate Mike on his speech, Engaging Humor. It was a research project about humor. And Mike, you came out from behind the lectern, yay. I was not anticipating that, because there's oftentimes when I see you back here. So that was really a wonderful way to begin to engage the audience. You switched hands, gestures with the microphone. You switched from hand to hand, so you could use your other hand to do some gestures. You looked into the camera, and I believe that you were also paying attention to the Zoom audience. Can I get a hands up from the Zoom audience, whether you think, or a thumbs up? Yeah. It's hard for me to tell back here whether he's engaging with the audience, but I think he did that well. You did your research on something that you loved, enjoyed. You could tell that you had the enthusiasm about Seinfeld. I love the phrase infinitely watchable. You were enthusiastic about your topic. You had some hand gestures. It's a good thing to research something that's fun to you, and that changes the whole manner of the speech when you are excited about it. Few suggestions. I would have enjoyed some humor. One of his jokes, maybe something like that. Watch your so's. Would also like to see a little bit more vocal variety. Just open up. You're so enthusiastic about it. It helps you engage a little bit if you just, I don't know, open up a little bit. At the end, you invited the audience back to enjoy the episodes. Your style, you were well prepared. And you did not go astray, that I heard, with any restarts. Madam Toastmaster. Thank you, Nancy. So next we'll go on to our timer. Mr. Thornton, can you tell us how everybody did in their timing?
Certainly, Madam Toastmaster. I'm pleased to report we went 9 for 9 today. Everyone who spoke qualified. Jackie came in at 2:33, as did Mark and Nancy at 2:25. The online poll will commence shortly. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. So You can vote now for Jackie Kenny, Mark Campos, or Nancy Ferry. I'm going to turn the lectern over to Eric Schneider, who's out in Zoom land, and he can tell us how our evaluations and the meeting went. Eric.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to do the poll. Ma'am Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, this was a good meeting today. I know, Tracy, you came up with a very good theme that I never would have so thank you for giving me the opportunity to think really hard on your theme. And the way I heard about this theme is like, reminds me of the U2 song, Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. Somehow it just clicked in my mind and then I just went with the flow of it. But thank you for, doing some housekeeping and kept the meeting going smoothly. Floral, you gave great table topics questions as always. And it was very entertaining, laughable, and it was just really good. Good job to our guest, Mark's niece. Great job with her table topics answer, and we do appreciate that. Now to our evaluators. I must say, I sensed a theme on Jackie evaluating Margot as a DTM. We had a good DTM theme of evaluating today. So Jackie, I love how you evaluate Margot. You always give good evaluations of the pros and cons of the evaluations. Now, I think maybe not saying pros and cons, I may have to say in a different aspect, but it's the one I can come up with since I'm still waking up. And on a side note too, Margot, if you're listening, I think you should do TED Talks. I can see you on stage, the way you performed your speech. That is a good TED Talk, and I think that would be a good one. Mark, as always, your evaluations always inspire me to do more as a Toastmaster, to really go knee deep into an evaluation, giving your perspective, giving your thoughts on the speech, and you did very well with Gerald's speech today. And for Nancy, now Nancy, I was gonna see if you can ask Dave to play his ringtone, because Dave has a ringtone. If every time someone calls Dave Licata, the Seinfeld theme song pops up in his ringtone. So I thought I was gonna hear that. And also, I thought I was gonna hear Festivus from Seinfeld. I thought I was gonna hear Jerry Stiller's intake on Festivus, or am I on the wrong show? All right, well, but that was good speeches, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So, do you want me to call for reports, or do you want to call for reports?
More than welcome, Eric.
All righty. Let's go. I know we didn't have a lot of topics, but I'm gonna go with our grammarian master Marty.
Thank you, Eric, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. I will start with my Masters report. Masters report. Nancy. Actually, we have two Nancy. We have two Nancys. We have Nancy Rose and we have Nancy Ferry. Nancy Ferry. Actually, this is Nancy Rose. Nancy Rose had one Nancy Ferry had an Eric had a couple Mike, let's see. Mike Florio had a so and then a double and. I let some people get away with the ands because sometimes they're not ending a sentence and combining two sentences where there should be a single sentence, and instead they're combined with the word and. Sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it sort of seems a little congested. Anyway, then there were some use of the word but, which I know they were talking about at the scout camp, but we won't go there, the marker. But I'm talking about the word B-U-T. People use the word Mark had 1, Eric had 1, and Mike Licata had 1. That concludes my master's report. I was trying not to go astray. And my grammarian report, there were some good, colorful uses of the language. I did not jot them down. So anyone that did use colorful language, pat yourself on the back. And I did not hear anything, honestly, that took my mind astray from the speech, if you will. Everyone, keep up the good work. Watch your ahs and your ums and your buts and your so's. I know someone mentioned the use of the word so's also. Eric, back to you, Mr. General Evaluator. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. I didn't see that we have a tech and gesture master, but did anybody stepped up to do a report? All right. And no quiz master, nobody stepped up for that? Okay. All right, our word master, David Jones, how did we do astray today?
You just did it, so that was a good start. Ironically, the only person that I didn't hear use the word astray, and maybe it's part of not being a good public speaker, was Margot. Maybe she did it intentionally to trick us all. Other than that, I believe I heard everybody use it, and Mike, Florio, and Tracy used it 3 times. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'll turn things over back to our Toastmaster and our club president for announcements and awards. Thank you all very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Eric. So throughout our meeting, we talked about things that were lost and we found. We realized that Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. It was sitting right in front of him. Dorothy had her shoes. They were sitting right in front of them. For our new Toastmasters, they're looking for a place to learn public speaking. It's right in front of us. Everybody in this room knows it. Everybody on Zoom land knows it. Our tribe is here and we'll all learn how to public speak and encourage each other. And that's what we're here for. I'm going to bring up our president, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Tracy. It's a fine topic today. We have a number of things, housekeeping to do. First thing I'm going to talk about is dues are due. So dues are due, invoices were sent out. So please send a check in to Beth. She'll be gathering all those to get it on time so we can check off our box as a distinguished club. There is the Celtic Festival going on this weekend. We have a table there. We have a few volunteers. The names are on the list for those of you volunteering. So just go to the front gate and tell them who you are and you're volunteering and they'll let you in. Margot has an announcement if she is ready. I did not forget you, Margot. I made a list so I would forget. Margot is always ready. I should know better than ask that question.
Thank you. Actually, I have a favor to ask. The Wine Trail has received a grant and we're going to be taking pictures at every single winery. And my date is going to be Friday, October 7th at 2 p.m., which is a normal time for Mike to work. So I have employees, but I need people to pretend to be guests who want to try wine, sit at the table, have your picture taken. Obviously, we'll be out there with the Wine Trail. So if anybody is interested and would like to help me out, please let me know. And so I just need like 3-4 people to come and pretend to enjoy wine, to sit at the table for the murder mystery. I'm going to set some different tables up. So if you're interested, let me know. Thank you, Mr. President.
Do you have to really pretend? You could actually enjoy it, right? That's fair. That's fair. Just in case they don't like wine. Sounds like a nice job to me. Today is Eric Steiner's birthday. So let's join in a song for Eric. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Eric. Happy birthday to you. He is young. I didn't ask his age. But we actually have a thing here Marty has of a couple different articles Eric had in the paper. One promoting Toastmasters, which is awesome. And another one where he is donating platelets he does every week to help out everybody. So he's a great guy. And
He donates every day.
is it every day? I don't know. It seems like it's every day. But he's going for the personal best every time he goes. So that's great. And he's helping people in the world. So you got to love that stuff. Schedule, upcoming schedule. Who is Toastmaster next week on the 22nd? It is Sylvia. Sylvia's waving. Do you have a theme, Sylvia? Not yet, but you'll see it in emails. Alternate speaker is Bill Russell. Nancy Rose is speaker. Also, we have Dave Licata as speaker. And Anne-Marie Lenhart. So we haven't seen her since the summer, so hopefully she'll be armed and ready with the tales of her summer to entertain us all. If you're able to make the meeting, please confirm. If you're not able, take yourself off a roll and we'll get a volunteer to step up. It helps the Toastmaster track everybody so she doesn't have to call you and track you down in a vigorous way. Any other announcements? Len has an announcement, yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just an appeal to respond to my email regarding the fourth quarter schedule. It can be very disruptive when you have a lot of roles to fill at a given meeting because people didn't indicate they weren't available at that meeting or dropped out for whatever reason. It's a rather technical challenge to craft a schedule which balances everybody's participation and availability. I help Katie out with this because the roles of VP of Education are so numerous. But please help me out by responding to my email if you haven't already. Do it today. Thank you.
Thank you, Len.
Mr. President, one thing.
Yes, sir.
Not so much an announcement, but on behalf of my family and myself, I just want to thank you all for the thoughtful card, the sympathy card that was sent to our home. We greatly appreciate it. So thank you.
No problem, Mark. I also have to give out some awards. That's always a fun thing to do. So we have some ribbons today. Our best evaluator is Mark Campos. Speaking of Mark, this is his ribbon. Good job. Well done. Our best table topic speaker is Lauren. Congratulations, Lauren. If you were here in person, we would give you a ribbon. And the best speaker is me, and I didn't bribe anybody or pay anybody off. So being the best speaker, I get to choose from the split club here. So get your tickets ready and let's see who won the split club. It is 345-509. 509. Dave Licata's lucky day. He may use that on breakfast. We'll see.
Mr. President, let's not forget to ask our guests what they thought of the meeting.
Thank you so much for that, Mark. Yes.
President, not only do you have time to report, they can give an icebreaker right
now. Well, no pressure on that one. So Lauren, we'll start with you. What did you think of the meeting?
I think that I could probably get some really great help from you folks. You're all great public speakers. I think it's a little bit complicated, all the roles, and I feel like I'm a little bit lost here and there with who's doing what and why and how. And so that's a little bit of something to kind of catch up on, I think. But otherwise, it's great. It's fantastic. Thank you for having me.
No problem. When you join, you will be assigned a mentor, and the mentor will definitely break down all the different roles and everything. And I'm sure you could tap your uncle for a bit of that as well to kind of to help you out with that. Mark, would you like to talk about your experience here today as a guest?
I really enjoyed it. And I'm okay.
Yeah, so they can hear you on the mic, so yes. That's okay, no problem.
Slowly.
No, that's fine.
For you people at home, and Eric, I brought in that article for Marty, from You Giving Blood. I read the paper backwards and forwards, so if it's in the paper, I try to get it to the people that are out there and are making the Toastmasters well known. And we need to do that. We need to know that we're present within our community and that we're open for other people to join. I know cash is king in my home. I do have cash today to join your club. So I don't have to write you a check. Okay. I was a member of the Buffalo Flyers and I had some difficulty the last 18 months with my health, but it's getting better and I want to get back to doing the things I like to do. And the only joke that I'm going to say today, and it's not PC because I'm really not, and I kind of don't have a filter like a lot of people that I know. So I distance myself most of the time, but this joke, like most jokes, it usually starts out the same way. Someone will look this way and look this way and see if anyone's eavesdropping. And it goes this way. If you really want to find out who your best friend is, take your best friend and your dog and put them in the trunk of your car. And then drive around a backcountry road that's really bumpy. And drive around for about a half an hour, because I know this is politically correct. And I try to do this with my wife and my dog, and I opened the trunk up and I had to see whose tail was wagging to see me. Well, I can tell you my wife was, but my dog was. And that was about unconditional love. And next time I meet with you, I would do a prepared speech, because I did prepare one on unconditional love and the loss of my dog 2 weeks ago. And we had to put her down. She was sick. And if I'm allowed to, next time we meet, I would volunteer to do a prepared speech on that. But thank you for your time. And thank you for you people at home. And Eric ran on the cross-country team with my son. And he's actually really a great athlete too. And a wonderful spirit. Thank you.
Yes. Every speaking opportunity is an opportunity to grow and for us to learn about you and your life. Sylvia also has an announcement, I believe. Yes, Sylvia.
I have to double check the dates, but October 13th, we may have to do everything in Zoom because this building is doing a training with staff Wednesday night and the following Saturday. So it's kind of silly to come in early Thursday morning to set up and then take back down again because of Saturday's meeting. So I think it's going to be October 13th, but I'll double check and I'll let everybody know for sure next week, but we will not be able to use this room. And if Mark is available, I don't think Anne Marie will be speaking next week. I could put you in her spot if you would like. Great. Thank you.
Awesome. And one other announcement, we do have our harvest picnic on the 2nd. Katie is leading that, so it's like a potluck get together. So as soon as the Celtic Festival is out, I'm sure she'll be sending out emails and organizing because she's in charge of that. Is there any other announcements or things for the good of the order? Oh, Marta, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Club President. I heard a familiar word. Someone said Buffalo Flyers Toastmasters. For any of you that don't know, I am the current president of Buffalo Flyers Toastmasters Club, and we are currently rebuilding the club. As of this moment, right now at 8:20 a.m. on Thursday, September 15th, we have 5 members. With that said, anyone that is looking to get on a faster track for your DTM, I can assure you that there is room for club officer role, which is one requirement. Getting your 2 paths. We have 19 meetings left. We meet twice a month. We meet the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month. So you have 19, actually 18 opportunities to give speech projects. So anyone that's interested in completing, which for your DTM, you need to complete 2 paths. Those are just a couple of the requirements for the new DTM. Anyone that's interested, you know how to get a hold of me. I would appreciate it if anyone that you know yourself or anyone else, you can send them my way. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
And with that, hearing no other items, meeting adjourned.